My beloved brother and sisters, something in you already knows this moment is different. I'm not going to tell you your blessing is coming. I'm going to tell you something harder than that and more true. What God has been holding for you has been ready for longer than you realize. The delay was never in His willingness. It was in your capacity to receive it. Not because you failed, not because you weren't faithful, but because the very faculty inside you, the part of you that was built from the beginning to receive. Divine frequency has been slowly, systematically closed. There is a name for it in neuroscience. There is a name for it in sacred wisdom. And today I want to show you both, because what happens in the next 48 hours is not about what you need to do differently. It's about what you need to open. This is a Chyros moment. In ancient understanding, the kind Joseph stood inside the morning, everything changed without knowing it was changing. There are appointed intersections where what has been held finally becomes receivable, where the last barrier dissolves, where the space between the promise and the receiving collapses. You didn't come here by accident. Stay with me. What I'm about to show you will not just encourage you, it will explain everything. Now, before we go deeper, I want to tell you what is waiting for you at the end of this message. Because I don't want you to leave before we get there. By the time we reach the end, you are going to understand exactly why the waiting happened and why it had to be this long. You are going to learn about a specific frequency that God built into your brain from birth, one that science has now documented, and why modern life closed it without your permission. You are going to walk through a releasing ceremony that will help you drop what has been blocking the receiving. And I'm going to share something practical that over 18,000 people have used to reopen the channel. All of that is ahead. Don't leave early. Now let me start with a question I think you have been carrying the longest. Why has it taken this long? You prayed, you trusted, you let go and picked it back up and let go again. You watched other people receive things you had been believing for, and you stayed. You didn't walk away. You kept showing up in the quiet with an open hand and an honest heart. And still the thing you were waiting for had not arrived. I want you to sit with the weight of that for just a moment. Not to stay in it, but to honor it. Because too many messages rush past the pain to get to the promise. And that rushing is exactly why the promise never lands. Your waiting was real. The nights were real. The questions were real. And God saw all of it. Now, here is what I want to offer you. Not as comfort, but as truth. In the ancient world, there were two words for time, two completely different words, because they understood that not all time is the same. The first was Kronos. That's the time on your clock, seconds, minutes, days, the kind of time that passes whether or not anything significant is happening. The kind of time you have been measuring you are waiting in. The second was Chyros. That's appointed time, sacred time. The moment that carries weight beyond its length. The intersection, the hour that was set aside before you were born. And here is what matters. Kairos moments cannot be forced. They cannot be manufactured. They cannot be scheduled by human hands. They arrive, and when they arrive, they carry everything that Kronos has been accumulating. Joseph waited 13 years in Kronos, and then in a single day of Kairos, he went from a prison cell to the second most powerful position in the known world. One day, not because 13 years of suffering was random, but because 13 years of Kronos was building something that only Kairos could release. You have been measuring your waiting in Kronos. God has been moving in Kairos. The 48-hour window is not a countdown to punishment. It is a Kairos threshold, a point in sacred time where what has been in motion for years becomes receivable in a way it wasn't last month, where the conditions in the unseen align with the conditions in your soul. And I want to be honest with you here, because honesty is what builds trust. I cannot tell you exactly what arrives in 48 hours. I cannot give you a date or a name or a number. What I can tell you is this: there is a pattern that runs through every life that ever came through a long waiting season and stepped into what was prepared for them. And that pattern is what I want to walk through with you today. Now, I need you to notice something, because you might be sitting with a familiar feeling right now. A feeling that sounds like, I've had this before. I've gotten excited before. And the fall from that excitement is too far. I hear that. That's not doubt. That's wisdom formed by history. You learn not to hope too loud, because the cost of being wrong again is real. But here is what I want to ask you. What if the thing blocking you from receiving is not the absence of what you've been waiting for, but the wall you built to protect yourself from hoping for it? We're going to come back to that. Stay with me, because first I need to show you something about what God has actually been holding, because I think you might be thinking smaller than the reality. When most people hear the phrase, what God has been holding for you, they picture an outcome, a job, a relationship, a breakthrough in finances, a restoration of health. And those things are real. I'm not dismissing them. But I want to suggest to you that what God has been holding is not primarily an outcome. it's a version of you. Think about Joseph again. When he was thrown into the pit by his brothers, he was a young man with a dream and no wisdom for what the dream would cost. When he was falsely accused and thrown into prison, he was a man who had learned to survive betrayal. And when Pharaoh finally called for him, when the Chyros moment arrived, he was a man who could not be corrupted by power, who could not be destroyed by pressure, who could hold the weight of an entire nation's survival in his hands. The pit didn't punish Joseph. The pit produced him. And what God had been holding for Joseph was not just a position. It was the Joseph who could hold the position without being broken by it. Chosen one. The same dynamic is true for you. There are things being held for you that you are not yet built to carry. And I don't say that to minimize you. I say that to explain the preparation, because provision without formation is a disaster. Promotion before character is a prison of a different kind. The wilderness you have been in, and I use the word wilderness with intention, was not a punishment. It was a construction site. And 3 specific things have been built in you during this season that could not have been built any other way. The first is discernment. The ability to see what others miss, to sense what isn't spoken, to read the room beneath the room. That doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the years you spent figuring out who was safe and who wasn't, what was real and what was performance. You develop the eyes of a seer, and you don't fully know yet what that gift is going to be worth in the season that is opening. The second is endurance without bitterness. That is rare. There are people who survived what you survived, but they came out hardened. They came out with walls so thick that love cannot enter and truth cannot reach them. You are not one of those people. You chose again and again to stay soft, to stay open, to stay willing. That is not weakness. That is the most sophisticated kind of strength there is. The third is the capacity to carry others, because what is being released through you is not only for you. It never was. You are not a chosen one in the sense of being specially privileged. You are a chosen one in the sense of being specifically positioned to carry something that will move through you into the lives of people who have not yet found the door you are about to walk through. You are a cycle breaker. What you receive and how you receive it rewrites something that has been stuck for longer than your own lifetime. Esther didn't know she was being prepared for a specific moment when she was learning protocol in the palace. She thought she was just surviving. She was actually being positioned. And when Maud said to her, "Who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" It wasn't a flattery. It was a theological statement about divine timing. You have come to this moment for such a time as this. The seed has been in the ground. It has not been forgotten. It has been tended. And what looks like dome from above is root development happening in the dark. But here is what I still need to show you. And this is where the message shifts. Because everything I've shared so far explains the waiting. But it does not explain why the 48-hour window is specific. It does not explain why now and not 3 months ago and not 3 months from now. And when I show you the answer to that question, what I'm about to share with you next, it will change not just how you understand this season, but how you understand yourself. Stay with me. Let me ask you something that might feel strange at first. What if every prayer you have ever prayed was heard? Not partially heard, not heard and put on a waiting list, fully heard, fully received on the other side, fully acknowledged? What if every declaration you ever made was registered? Every seed of faith you planted went into good soil and is already growing? What if the pipeline from God to you has never been broken on His end? And the only place where something is not flowing the way it should is in the last six is your receiving capacity. I want you to think about a radio antenna. The signal is always there. The transmission is always going out. It never stops. It never weakens. It never changes based on whether you are worthy of it. But if the antenna is damaged, if something in the receiver is tuned incorrectly or closed down, the signal doesn't land, not because it wasn't sent, because something on the receiving end is not open. This is not a spiritual metaphor. This is a literal description of what has been happening. And the 48-hour window, I want you to understand the reason it is specific. The reason right now is different from last year is because a Chyros window is a moment when the conditions for opening the receiver are unusually favorable. When the resistance in your internal system is lowered just enough that activation becomes possible in a way it wasn't before. You are standing in one of those windows right now. But I also need to name something that might be sitting in the room with you. Something that has been with you for a long time. A pattern that is so familiar, it might not even feel like a problem anymore. It's the doubt pattern. And I want to speak to it gently because this pattern did not form out of weakness. It formed out of wisdom. At some point in your journey, you hoped out loud, and the thing you hoped for did not arrive on the timeline you expected. And the fall from that expectation was significant. So your inner system, your very intelligent, very protective inner system made a decision. It decided to lower the ceiling. Don't hope too high. Don't let yourself fully believe. keep one part of you slightly detached, slightly skeptical, slightly brace for the disappointment. Because if you brace for it, it can't devastate you. I understand that completely. That is not a character flaw. That is a nervous system that learned from experience. But here is the cost. And I need you to hear this clearly. The same wall that protects you from disappointment is the same wall that slows the receiving. You cannot leave the door half open and expect the full thing to come through. And there is something underneath the doubt that is even deeper. It's a question, a quiet question that you may have never spoken out loud, but has been running in the background for years. What if I'm not the kind of person this happens for? What if other people get the breakthroughs, the restoration, the divine connections, but I am somehow on the wrong side of the line? What if I have been faithful enough to get through the wilderness, but not enough to inherit what's on the other side? That is the deepest lie, and it has been costing you everything. Because let me tell you what I believe about you. You are not watching this message because you found it by accident. You are here because there is an assignment on your life that the enemy of your peace has been working overtime to convince you is meant for someone else. The length of the waiting was not proof that you were overlooked. It was evidence of how significant what is being released is. Because significant things require significant preparation. What you carry is not small. What moves through you when you are fully open is not small. And the cycle breaker, the seer, the voice that has been forming in you through this entire season, that is not a small thing. And I need to show you something now. Something that connects the spiritual to the scientific in a way that is going to shift how you understand everything. Because there is a question I haven't fully answered yet. The question of why the receiver closed, not spiritually, biologically, measurably here, is what neuroscience has documented. And I want you to hold this alongside your faith, because these two things are not enemies. Your brain produces different kinds of waves depending on your state. Most people know about beta waves. That's the alert, problem-solving, surface-level state most of us live in all day. There are also delta waves in deep sleep, theta in light sleep or deep meditation. And then there is gamma. Gamma is different. Gamma waves operate at a higher frequency than anything else your brain produces. And the researchers who have studied it from MIT, from Harvard, from Princeton, have described it as the wave associated with heightened perception, deep intuition, accelerated learning, and what they call flow state. The state where everything comes together easily, where ideas arrive without forcing, where you feel connected to something larger than yourself. Dr. Robert Lake, a neuroscientist with over 30 years in this field, calls gamma the frequency of peak human function. And what he and his colleagues discovered through EEG studies is something extraordinary. Children are full of gamma. Watch a child who is genuinely curious, genuinely absorbed in something. Their brains are running at gamma constantly. They absorb language at impossible speeds. They make connections between unrelated things that adults miss entirely. They are tuned in, wide open receiving, and then something happens. Around the age of 7, the gamma activity begins to decline. And it is not random. Researchers have documented what they call the decline effect, a systematic reduction in gamma that corresponds with the structure of modern schooling, with a shift from creative play to performance-based learning, with the accumulation of social conditioning that teaches children to doubt, suppress, to conform by the time most people reach adulthood. The frequency that God placed in them to receive divine input, the biological antenna that was designed to run at full power, has been turned down to almost nothing. This is not your fault. You did not choose this. It was done to you by a system that had no interest in keeping your receiver open. But here is what matters. It can be reopened. And this is where I want to share something with you, not as a sales pitch, but as something that I genuinely believe is relevant to the 48-hour window you are standing in right now. Dr. Lake spent years developing what he calls a brain entrainment audio track, 7 minutes long. You listen through headphones, you close your eyes, and the audio uses specific frequency layering to guide your brain back into gamma state, the state it was designed to run in, the state that was closed off by decades of the decline effect. The science behind this is called brain entrainment, and it has been studied at multiple research institutions. It is not meditation. It's not a mantra. It requires nothing from you except 7 minutes and a pair of headphones. And what over 18,000 people who have used this have reported is not just better focus or clearer thinking, though those things happen. They report a shift in the way they receive, in the way they hear, in the way that what has been moving toward them finally lands. I want to be honest with you, because honesty is more valuable to me than a conversion. This is not a guaranteed miracle. It is a tool, a biological tool for reopening a biological channel that was closed without your permission. The spiritual work, the prayer, the surrender, the willingness to receive, you have already been doing that. This is the partner to that work. And I want to be honest about the cost too, because the traditional methods for activating gamma biofeedback therapy, specialized equipment, these run hundreds of dollars per session and thousands of dollars for home devices. This audio was priced at $49 when it was first released. But the people watching this message right now have access to it at $39. A price that exists only through the link in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. You will not find this price on Amazon. You will not find it anywhere else online. And I have to warn you, there are counterfeit versions of this audio circulating on other platforms and other sites. Those versions do not contain the actual entrainment technology. They are regular audio files with nothing embedded. The only way to receive the real technology with the 4 bonus resources included and with the complete money-back guarantee is through the link I have placed for you below. If this resonates with you, if something in you is saying, this is the piece I've been missing, the link is there. This is not pressure. This is an option for those who feel called to it. Whether you pursue that or not, what I want to leave you with goes deeper than any product. Because the question underneath everything we've discussed today is not just how do I open the receiver, it's what am I willing to believe about who I am. You are the seer. And what that means in practice is that you have been perceiving things about people, about situations, about the unseen that others around you have not been able to access. You have felt things before they happened. You have known things you had no logical way of knowing. That is not strange. That is gamma functioning in you, even at reduced levels. Imagine it fully restored. You are the voice. You carry words that land differently than other words. When you speak from a place of full alignment, from a place of open receiver, what comes out of you has weight. It carries frequency. It shifts something in the room. You have felt that before. You are going to feel it more. You are the cycle breaker. What moves through you is not just for you. The healing, the receiving, the breakthrough, it doesn't stop at your life. It moves into your children, your family, the people your story will reach when you are fully living on the other side of this threshold. And you are a receiver, not passively, actively, intentionally, with open hands and a clear channel and the full knowledge that what God has been holding was never meant to be held forever. The season of holding is ending. I want to give you something simple to do with the next few minutes. And I mean something you can do right where you are, without moving, without anything other than your own body and your own breath. As I speak, I want you to do something with your hands. If you are able, turn your palms upward wherever they are resting. If you cannot, simply imagine it internally. Feel the shift in your posture from gripping to opening, from brace to receptive, from a closed fist to an open hand. And in that posture, physically or internally, I want you to speak one sentence, either out loud or in your mind. Just one sentence. I am open to receive what has been prepared for me. Not as a performance, not as a formula, as a declaration from the receiver who has been in there the whole time waiting for permission to open. That is all. Hold that. Let it be real. Now let me close this with you properly, because what has been opened in this message deserves to be sealed. Stand still in this moment, chosen one. Even if the world is moving around you, let this be still. We are grateful. We are grateful for every season that felt like it had no purpose, but was building something we could not see. We are grateful for every prayer that seemed to go unanswered, but was being held, not ignored. Held in sacred custody. We are grateful for the wilderness, because the wilderness gave us roots that the comfortable life never could have given us. And we are grateful to be standing at this threshold today, in this moment, knowing that what is on the other side has been worth every step of what it took to get here. God, you see every weight this person has been carrying. You see the quiet faithfulness in the moments when no one was watching. You see the prayers whispered at midnight. The belief maintained when nothing visible confirmed it. The times they almost let go and chose to stay. You see all of it, and you have seen it as valuable, not in spite of the difficulty, but through it. Now we release. We release the old story, the one that said delay means denial. We release it. We release the ceiling that other people's opinions placed over us. We release it. We release the belief that what is for others cannot be for us. We release it. We release the comparison to other people's timelines as if God is running the same schedule for every life. We release it. We release the pattern of hoping with one hand and bracing with the other. We release it. We release every agreement we have ever made with the voice that said, "Not yet." When the truth, the actual truth, is right now, we release it. We release it all. It does not travel forward with us. Now we activate. We activate the seer, the one who perceives what others miss, whose sensitivity is not a burden but a gift. We activate the voice, the one whose words carry weight beyond their volume. We activate the cycle breaker, the one whose receiving rewrites the script for everyone who comes after. We activate every divine connection that has been waiting for this version of us to show up. We open the doors that this belief has been holding closed. We align provision with purpose, not just need purpose. We cover this rising. We cover what is being built from premature exposure and from the temptation to self-sabotage when it gets real. What has been lifted, let nothing pull it back down. What has been opened, let it stay open. And now we declare, I am the seer. I am the voice. I am the cycle breaker. I am the receiver. I came through the wilderness and I did not come out empty. I came out carrying something sacred, something that was formed in the dark and is ready for the light. I did not miss the window. I am standing in it. What God has been holding for me is moving toward me now, and I am open. I am aligned. I am ready. This is my season. This is my Chyros moment. It is done. It is sealed. We receive it, and so it is. Amen. Before you go, if this message reached you at the right moment, type the word open in the comments right now. Not as a routine comment, as a declaration. Let it be the first act of the open receiver. And if you know someone who is in the middle of a long waiting season, someone who needs to understand that delay is not denial, that the holding has a reason, that their Kairos window is closer than they think, share this with them. This message was not only meant for you. The link for the Genius song audio is in the description and in the pinned comment below. For those who feel called to take that next step and reopen the channel that was closed, go and receive Chosen.